to today's webinar on spread of leather by Professor Dr. Buddhadev Chatterjee. I'm hopeful that everyone of us will have some takeaways from this presentation. IITA Seminar Committee is endeavoring to conduct future webinars on different subjects which will be helpful to all sections of leather industry. We require your active support and participation in our efforts. Now, I would like to inform the modalities of today's webinar. Other than the speaker, everyone's audio and video will be closed. Participants can ask questions during or after the presentation through chat mode. After presentations, questions received in chat will be given preference as per time limit and he or she will be unmuted. Now, I will request the General Secretary of IITA to introduce our speaker of the day. Just a minute, I'm unmuting Mr. Malik.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, go on.
Okay. Good evening to all participants and today's honorable speaker, Dr. Buddhadev Chatterjee. Before introducing our honorable speaker, I should say some few words regarding activities of IITA. Overcoming the initial shock due to acute crisis due to COVID situation and lockdown thereafter. For almost 90 days, IITA transferred many of its mode of activities on digital platform. The association started publishing its technical journal, that is JILTA, from the month of June on digital mode in spite of lockdown and strict restrictions on movement by the government. We started our activities on organizing health talk on relevant issues, seminars on relevant topics, and on other fronts as well on digital platform for the last 1 month. We are still in the process of transforming our other activities on digital system as far as possible, and for which we have several effective subcommittees. Human Resource and Seminar Subcommittee are two of them effectively doing their job as per the need of the hour. Today we are here to participate in a webinar on an extremely useful subject, especially at present situation when cost effectiveness will be an important role in post-COVID scenario. I request all participants to listen without any disturbance from any outside source around you. There will be a question hour session and you have to raise your hand digitally as said by our coordinator, Mr. Shubir Datta. You have to raise your hand digitally, and till then, please keep your sound mode on mute. Let me introduce our honorable speaker today, Dr. Buddhadev Chatterjee. After completion of BTech from Calcutta University, MTech from Anna University, PhD from Jadavpur University, he worked in Bata India Limited for about 7 years before joining Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology in 1985 as assistant professor. Worked for 31 years in this prestigious institute and the last 17 years of his tenure as principal. At present, he is working as principal of MCKV Institute of Engineering. He has served our association as honorary editor for 7 years. He has 57 international publications and 112 national publications. He honored with several awards for his unique achievements throughout his life as trainer. He is a very good educationist and scientist in the leather world. Now I request the Honorable Speaker, Dr. Buddhadev Chatterjee, to present today's.
Well, good evening, everybody, and
Good evening.
I would like to thank ILTA HR platform to give me an opportunity to share some of my ideas and views, particularly on a subject which you can see later on has an immense potential and immense importance in day-to-day tannery life. Before I say anything about it, I must confess that this was the work done 41 years ago. And at that very time, under the dynamic leadership of Dr. Zdeněk Kutasek, we, the young technicians at that time, just passing out from the college, were involved years after years, about 2 years continuously, to find an answer to the simple question that on which the spread depends. And I am referring today's talk with respect to this area. And as we go on, you will understand that spread is a subject which not only speaks of the economic viability, sustainability, and profitability of tanneries, but also it speaks of as an important key performance indicator, KPI, key performance indicator of the quality control. How are you going to do quality control? How are you actually doing quality control? What is the correctness of the quality control that has been undertaken? It also can be reflected by the term spread and by accounting the spread. So therefore, this is a very important issue which not only depends on the processing technology, but it also depends on the chemicals, raw materials, enormous machinery, and all these things are very important. I would like to strictly emphasize, particularly to my tanning fraternity, that it is the chemical processing is not the only business of the tanners. Every leather technologist has to take ownership of the tannery. That means you have to think that if this is my tannery, if I am the owner of the tannery, how can I make this tannery sustainable? How can I make this tannery profitable? Because at the end of the day, it is the profit that is counted. So that is very, very important issue. That means overall improvement. That means overall consciousness. That means dedicatedly following the criteria and be watchful to do a mother's care of not only the leather, but also the entire tannery. That is very, very crucial aspect to become sustainable in a most important and interesting area of leather manufacturing. What is a spread? Spread is a quotient of the area of the finished leather to the weight of the raw material. Raw material, so it is a quotient of output by input. So technically it should be called as a yield. And why we are saying this as a spread at the first point? That is because to give you an impression, to give you a mental picture by the term spread, the area of the leather. Because the leather is sold except a few, like sole, insole, harness, saddlery, belting, etc. Most of the other leathers generally are sold based on area. And what is the input? Input is the wet salted hides and skins, and their input is in kg. So the area in that way is the square feet divided by kg, or square feet by kg is the unit of the spread. Now, that means precisely I want to know, or we want to know, how much square feet of leather is going to be produced from 1 kg of hides and skins. I give you an illustration. Suppose a buyer has asked you to produce chrome rattan waxy cow upper of 1.4, 1.6 millimeter thickness, having total area of 20,000 square feet. If this is the order that comes to you, along with the swatch of the leather piece, how much kilogram of raw hides and skins that you are going to sew? If this is the question, then you have to find a correlation between the weight and the area. Otherwise, you can't do it. Well, it is a rule of thumb that some tannery may have different kind of estimates, but mostly these are not based on scientific experiments. There is no kind of a simple formula, straight-jacketed formula, wherein you can put the square feet and automatically the kgs are going to come up. No. Every tannery must set experiments to find out what is the optimum spread of every category of leather. I repeat, for every category of leather, that the tannery is producing, we must find out what is the optimum spread, and that as a benchmark has to be kept. If we are within reaching the benchmark in the next process, then we are good. If we are crossing the benchmark, going above the benchmark, then we are better or the best. If we are below the benchmark, then something has to be done so that we can achieve the benchmark for processing the next lot. That goes very simple. It depends from one tannery to another tannery. As I go on the presentation, you will see that there are so many factors which influences the spread. It not only depends from one tannery to another tannery, but also it can vary between two tanneries of the same company. So therefore, we have to be very cautious. And it's not only the chemical parameters, the absorption, fixation, and all these things, but at the same time, it is the mechanical operations also has a great role to play. Now, when you see that the leathers are being sold, the leathers are finished leathers are piled up on a selection table. What the buyers look at? The buyers first looks at the color, texture of the leather, and then feel of the leather, thickness of the leather, and then they try to guess out what is the cutting value. That means what is the neat area that can be used to manipulate so that his product can be used. Say we take for example 5% wastage on the surface defect. Because of the surface defect, we call it as a grade 1. Then 6 to 10% grade 2, 11 to 15% grade 3, and thereafter table run. And there will be always some rejects. So now, if you are not cautious about this spread, if we do not have any idea about the spread, then it is easy to satisfy 20,000 square feet by processing about 50,000 square feet. But that is a sheer waste of money. That is not a technically important, that is technically wasteful exercise. We can have at least 10 to 20%, 10 to 15% excess in order to accommodate the rejects. But we cannot be so blind so as to put a more than 100% margin and then keep the leaders on the horse waiting indefinitely for the next order to come. That is not a good point of business. And therefore, selection of the grade is very subjective in nature. While the spread is very objective because it is measurable. You can measure in a measuring machine, you can measure the area. So therefore, this is very objective. You cannot make any hide and seek. The sale process, as we have said, depends on the area of the achieved, and therefore spread has to be built up. The importance of the spread is to be understood. The spread has to be built up step by step in every operation and to be very carefully, dedicatedly, and religiously. Now, as I've already said, that the spread influences the costing, and therefore it defines the commercial sustainability. A leather costing, if it is done without the consideration of the spread, this costing is going to be erroneous. And there are so many factors you will see later on are important to obtain the right spread. And therefore, as I have said, it is an important KPI for manufacturing the leather so that we can understand ourselves as a diagnostic tool how the quality is really controlled in the shop floor level. As at the beginning I said that this was the experiment done about 40 to 41 years ago under the dynamic leadership of my mentor, Dr. Z. Kutasek. I dedicate this lecture, today's evening lecture, in the memory of my mentor, Dr. Z. Kutasek. It was he who is responsible for shaping me as a tanner. I was very fortunate that his hand holding was so much important to me at the time of my really plastic stage of professional career, that for which whatever I am standing today is because of his contribution. And to the memory of Dr. Zenek Kutasek, I dedicate this lecture, and you'll be happy to know that this morning I got a blessings from Mrs. Helena Kutasek saying that I am really happy that you are remembering my beloved husband. Now, let us look at a very crucial aspect when we started this spread of the leather. How much of raw material that is used in a finished leather? Or in other words, how much of raw material is wastage at what operations in the processing of leather? When we did it, I was very much surprised, and I was very much, a skeptic that whether we should show this result to Dr. Kutasek. And when he said that, okay, this is as per the international standard, you are right. So it was a shocking experience to me, something like a understanding quantum mechanics. Similarly, it was a very shocking. So the fleshing, we lose about 30% of the raw material. In splitting, about 15%, of which 7 to 8% are utilized as a low-end split product. Shaving about 5%, buffing about 2%, trimming altogether about 12%. So this goes out as solid waste. And tannery has to pay money for disposal, and also the safe disposal of this product creates a kind of an environmental challenge. Now, with this data, you can see here that 39% of the raw material is actually converted into leather. There is hardly any manufacturing industry which is still surviving with such a poor use of raw material, such a poor conversion ratio, whether it is a metallurgy, metal extraction, petro product, or any other things, chemical industries. Such a poor, conversion rate, 39%, is a very difficult to survive. And I can add another 7 or 8% from this plate. So it gives you less than 50%. Still, that is a pride of us. Still, leather is one of the highest export earner of the country. Now just think about this. If we can convert this raw material wastage into finished product or some other product, useful product, then the entire leather industry could have been placed in a total different orbit. There could be a quantum jump from one orbit to the another orbit altogether. Some of the technical points that often are missed by the tanners are, even with this 60% loss of finished leather, at least 5 to 7% can be gained if we look after the machines, our machines, properly. And this is not to be looked after by the workmen only, but the tanners in the floor, shop floor, has to personally involve themselves to assess those diagnostic treatment, say for fleshing machine, something like alignment of bend knife, sharpening of the knife while fleshing operation, whether it is proper or not, effective removal of the adhered fleshes, the cleaning of metallic grip roller, lubrication of all moving parts, pressure adjustment, so on and so forth. It is already mentioned here, so I am not going to read it. I can save here at least 1 to 2% of the material. If these things are okay, this is not only going to save the wastage, but also it is going to make the uniformity of the leather. Coming to the splitting machine, I would say the ring roller is the most important part in the splitting machine. Every ring of the ring roller must be free, must rotate freely, because ring roller adjusts the variation of thickness of the window. Therefore, its performance is very, very important, so that in some area you are not oversplitted, in some area you are not undersplitted. Ring roller plays a big vital role, and sometimes some of the rings of the ring roller may not move because there are jams or there are dust or there are darts, and so there are no free movement. That you have to look into. The pressure treadle has to exert the right pressure, and all the bearings has to be checked periodically. It's not when the bearing is broken, but it is a regular kind of a maintenance. We often believe in the tannery as a preventive maintenance. That is firefighting. Machine goes off, so we are running after that. No, that's not the process. The process of a let us make the post-COVID picture a new normal. That it is preventive maintenance has to be done away, and we must replace it by a performance maintenance. That means we must make a regular chart by which periodically these are checked, and these are replaced. That is very important to get a performance maintenance. So shifting of preventive maintenance to performance maintenance may be thought of in the post-COVID new normal. Here again, lubrication is very, very important, and all the bearing, bush, whatever, has to be checked properly. You will be surprised that as the doctors with a stethoscope, by hearing the sound of the heartbeat, calculates or guess what is the condition of the patient, heart of the patient. Similarly, the noise of turning machines, splitting machines, or fleshing machine, or shaving machine can tell us how the bearing is functioning. So, and where is the defect? Those who are running a car, your car, you know that noise of the car tells you many things about the engine and the performance and the health of the car itself. The same kind of attention has to be given to pick up those noise and to analyze them, to diagnose them, to directly influence there where the things went wrong. So it can be used as a diagnostic tool. Shaving machine, it depends on the type of the shaving machines. It could be single weights, could be double weight, could be two feet. But the sharpness of the shaving knives and the alignment of the knife roller with the feed roller is very important. The grinding wheel should not vibrate and should not exert back pressure to the knife roller, because then there will be the parallel marks on the flesh side of the leather, shaped leather. And this marks is going to be retained even in the finished leather. So one has to be very careful in that. The bearing has to be looked into and it can be assessed by its noise. Lubrication has to be done properly. The rule of thumb is slow RPM and heavy load, we go for grease. But for high RPM and small load, we go for lubricating oil. Buffing machine. The alignment of buffing roller, feed roller, pressure, and the gap between this alignment, this feed roller and the buffing roller is very important. Sometimes the safety guider of the buffing machine is compromised. It is compromised because the worker, if it is compromised, the worker can feed at a faster rate the leather for buffing, the crust for buffing. And that makes sometimes, this compromise makes sometimes a horrible accidents in the tannery. So when you look around, when you go around the shop floor, you must check whether the guider is in the right place or not, whether the difference of gap between the guider and the feed roller is correct or not, whether if there is an electronic control with a photoelectric cell, whether this is correctly open or not, and that thing has to be checked into, looked into. The sandpaper or the emery paper must not have edge, overlapping edge when you wrap the sandpaper on the buffing roller. This otherwise, these marks of the overlapping edge is going to retain on the buff sides. Now, as I have said that roughly about 55 to 60% of the leathers, of the weight of the leathers are wasted in various operations, mechanical operations. How can it be viable? If 39 to 40% of the raw material is converted into finished leather, how can we make it viable? How can we increase this one so that the tannery can have a tanning operation can have a higher ROI, return on investment? This waste has a golden opportunity, golden promise also. I will show you later on. And I, like a person tormented by a ghost, always look forward to see something a wild dreams. And who knows, today's dream may be a reality tomorrow. So let us show to my tanner friends what are the scopes, hidden scopes that really lies if we can utilize our raw waste at this present moment through cell biology, through biotechnology, to different kind of product. As I have said that these are the raw material. And what is the raw material? These are protein material. What is a protein? They are collagenous material. Okay. If these raw materials are wasted to that function, and everything is a solid waste, everything is rich in protein, how can I do it? how can I make a better use of a product? So the opportunities are there. It's an over-ambitious plan that I always name based on the Kronberg model, Denmark model. Look at the return of investment per kg of collagen, not per kg of leather, but per kg of collagen. If I make a hydrolyzer, I can get 8 euro per kg. But gelatin, 30 euro per kg. Leatherwood, 50 euro per kg. Leather, 120 euro per kg if we can, per kg of collagen. If we can make it a very good, excellent kind of Italian kind of finish and leather, we can get 120 euro per kg of collagen. Hemostatics, 20,000 euro. Just look at the last right hand side third column, 3 columns. There is a gigantic leap from 120 to 20,000. Hemostatics, soluble collagen, 2 lakh euro per kg of collagen. And my God, injectable collagen gives you a fortune, 5 lakh euro per kg of collagen. Well, can it be produced by tanners? No, certainly not. This is a product of cell biology. This is a product which should be attempted by biotechnologists or the cell biologists, and that can be sold out. Where are they used? Many of you, I am sure, has gone to Europe, and you cannot see, if you have noticed, you will see, you have not seen any kind of soap, any kind of shampoo, any kind of wrinkle remover, aging removal, okay, system or a product or a cosmetics which doesn't contain collagen. So they are used. Every kind of a, this plastic surgery, the patient undergoing for plastic surgery requires injectable collagen. And this injectable collagen, which costs around 5 lakh euro per kg of collagen, we have to import now in our country at the rate of 2 million ml vial of injectable collagen of 50% concentration or 40% concentration is sold at 3,000 rupees. And a patient has to take 20 to 30 injectable collagen shots after the plastic surgery. So you can see that some of these are going to be a fortune for the biotechnologists or the cell biologists, but some of them can be plowed back as a raw material to the tannery. And then my solid waste disposal is removed, and my cost is also can be lowered substantially by selling those products, which is known as a solid waste today. The genesis of leather technology is already a jump, an odyssey of conversion from waste to wealth. And the scopes is not exhausted. Scopes are still there because these two fields of biotechnology and cell biology is going to come, it has already come enormously rich, enormously potential, and can do a very great job for the humanity. Look at the Kronberg model of Denmark, which is 1960s, not now, when nobody knows in the world about the pollution and the control and all these things. Let us look at the Arsenal electrical power plant, which is a kind of a elliptical circle you can see at the middle of the picture. Arsenic power plant produces calcium sulfate that goes to a dipole wallboard. Arsenic electrical power plant produces fly ash that goes to a cement or road material manufacturing company which is nearby. This arsenic power plant uses at the same time fuel gas that is coming out as a waste from the Statoil refinery, petroleum refinery. They use a coal lime of the petroleum refinery goes to the power plant also. The steam of the Arsenis electrical power plant goes to the Nordics pharmaceuticals. The sludge of the pharmaceutical company goes for sludge fertilizer manufacture. And the sulfur oxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide that is coming out from the petroleum refinery is going for Crimea sulfuric acid plant. The waste streams are going for warming the fishery, homes, greenhouse gases, etc., etc. So you can see this is what we call a thermodynamically open system. That is a system which exchange either mass or energy with another system. The waste of mass, that is solid waste of one, or the steam, that is the waste energy, are consumed by the another industry. So instead of dreaming a completely leather oriented park, we may have something. Why not we dream something, constructing a biotechnology park adjacent to the tanning cluster to explore the gold of tanning waste. The tanneries can get revenue for easy disposal of the solid waste. National income, GDP, will grow exponentially because of the happy symbiosis of two different industries. And as I have mentioned, that a single 2 ml vial of injectable collagen cost in India 3,000 rupees. Each of them are imported. Now let us, after catering the huge wild dream, I come back again to the spread. There is no single panacea for raw material, raw to finishing. The network extends. The surveillance at each and every steps are important, and that has to be done with a religious dedication and devotion. Now we are talking about the smart floor management that I always envisage. Everything has become smart. We have a smartphone, we have a smart technology, we have a smart leather, we have everything has become smart today. So what are the smart management, floor management? First step is the production planning. That is right product mix of high yielding and low yielding products. That is the product which has a high spread and at the same time a mix of product which has a low spread. Step 2 is the in-plant process control. Task description. Every task on the shop floor in the in-plant has to be described precisely and monitored. The optimization of the production period has to be done. Every unit operation can be optimized, and the optimization has to be done in order to cut short the processing time. So that, why you do this? Because if we can cut short the processing time, I can increase the cycle of my investment. And then even with a low profit margin, if the cycle is increased, the net profit can increase. The third step is the management efficiency, process optimization, not the time optimization, but the process optimization, task description again, atom economy, and inventory control. Inventory control is a very, very crucial aspect of tannery operation. You have a huge number of chemicals of same genera. Leather, non-moving leather. This is the way how our capitals are going So if the lipid capital is blocked, then we are running into trouble. Because the question of survivability is going to be affected. So therefore, this is important. Okay. Next, I'm going to tell you that the leather can be destroyed in any operation. And therefore, leather needs is an old school of thought. When we are studying our BTech, it was always said that the leather making needs a mother's care. And this is very crucial. You must have a mother's care for every piece of leather, every side of leather. And this crucial point is are even often ignored. Now coming to the spread step-by-step description on what are the important factors. Spread depends on the origin of leather. Whether it is from North Bihar or from Rajasthan or Uttar Pradesh or from where, it depends on that. The methods of curing influences the spread. And the spread decreases in the following method of curing. The freshly slaughtered hides coming from the abattoir to the tannery gives a better highest amount of spread that I have seen in many countries in Africa. They are coming straight away from abattoir to the tannery with a refrigerated vessel, and that comes in there. Of course, there is no scope here in India in our case. Then comes a brine cured, almost it has gone. Very few areas they can have a brine curing in Argentina or United States, I don't know. Wet salted, then come wet salted, then comes dry salted, and last one is the flint. The hides and skins of compact fiber structure often shows a very bad spread from America, Australia, and others because of the compactness. The beam house is the most important operation, and it is said that the beam house is the crèche of leather making. And therefore, soaking is most crucial in spread. Enzymatic soaking may bring a good result if it is controlled in a proper manner. Wrinkles and growth marks reduces spread considerably, and it cannot be recovered if the soaking is improper. Soaking should not only rehydrate, but it must go inside the intermediate space and to make it sufficiently soft and supple. This can be judged by the plumpness and the resiliency of the soaked hides and skins when you drop the soaked hides and skins on the floor and see the amount of bumping, the resiliency that it makes. From there, you can gauge what is the whether it is properly soaked or not. Beam house, then liming operation is very, very important because it should not look after the depilation only, but the removal of interfibrillary denatured globular proteins are very, very important. And it must open up the fiber bundle, which you cannot see, obviously. There is no gadget to see it. The removal of natural lipids inside by alkaline saponification. The splitting of fiber bundles to a certain extent is very much required to obtain the right spread. Enzyme also can play a big role and adequately address the return of investment by increasing the spread. Beam house is the crèche for leather making. And unfortunately, it is the most neglected area though. Here I would like to make a caution that when you do for enzymatic treatment, the folding of the enzyme's activity is because of the folding pattern. Enzyme acts because of its folding pattern. And the folding pattern is conserved by the disulfur linkage of the cysteine. It is this disulfur linkage that is also present in the keratin. that is that forms the hair and the wool or nails or hooves. So if you do enzymatic treatment in presence of sodium sulfide, then the activity of enzyme can be compromised, because sodium sulfide doesn't know whether this disulfide linkage is of collagen, is of keratin, or this disulfide linkage is of the enzyme. How do they know it? They can't differentiate. And if the sodium sulfide starts breaking the disulfide linkage of the enzyme, which is more possibly they would do because these enzymes are smaller in molecular size and also less complex in structure as compared to keratin, then the enzymatic activity is lost because the folding is lost. So therefore, when you do, many often people say that, okay, I added a lime, sodium sulfide and lime, and then added enzyme, or maybe I treated enzyme and then added sodium sulfide lime. It doesn't work. It will not work. It will not work. You have to understand the chemistry and the biochemistry. Tanning operation. The role of tanning in this spread is negative. The chromium 3, that is trivalent chromium tanning, is a function, is believed to be a function of cross-linkage between the fibers, and it is bound to shrink the area. The same is true for other metal tanning, zirconium, iron, titanium, etc. Vegetable tanning also reduces the area considerably. So is the synthetic tanning agents or the acrylic tanning agents. We can hardly compensate here, and it is not advisable to compensate too. We have to compensate this in the wet finishing area. Now, when we talk about the chrome tanning, I have my personal, suspect or the views. This was the paper which we published from the Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology in the year 2012 in Journal of the Society of Leather Technologists and Chemists, UK. Now look at the right hand side. You can see various linkage of chromium with the carboxylic side chain of the collagen polypeptide chain, alpha collagen helix, alpha helix. The first one is a unipoint linkage, that is one chromium. Carboxylate group is replacing one ligand, that is water ligand, and joining there, making a coordinate bond with the chromium with a single point attachment. B, in the right hand side, is a cross linking, where two carboxylate group of the two chain or the same chain with two different folded region can combine to make a bridge. This is a cross-linking of a monochromium complex. The C is a dichromium complex, a dinuclear complex, where it is cross-linked between two chains. And it is believed that C type of linkage is responsible for increasing the hydrothermal stability, on which, on the later part, in 2012, I had expressed my doubt to the General 4 of the Society for Leather Technologists and Chemistry, UK. First of all, many things are in the gray area. Any chemical operation that is done in the tannery is first diffusion control. The chemicals must go inside the leather woven, three-dimensionally woven leather matrix. And therefore, it has to be a diffusion control mechanism. But we do not know anything about the diffusion constant, diffusion coefficient. If we do not know the diffusion coefficient of leather, of any chemicals with respect to the collagen matrix, how can we control the rate of diffusion? Because rate of diffusion is a function of diffusion coefficient also. You know, it is a constant, but it is substantially influences. We do not know about that, so we cannot predict at what time, what will be the time required for the diffusion. We do not know the equilibrium constant of any chemical reactions with the collagen. Still now, it's not known. And therefore, we cannot possibly go for the third generation of modernization or third generation of automation if we do not know the equilibrium constants. So, what we control now is either controlling the reactivity or the auxiliary or the reactivity of the collagen. We try to control without knowing those two things. And many of my scientist friends have said that it is very complicated problem because you have a very different kind of structure. Their generations are different. Some of their structure, if you look at primary level, is different, secondary level is different, tertiary and quaternary levels are very different, three-dimensionally open. How can you take into so much of variables into consideration? But my point is, today, in this 21st century, has gone too far in computational biology. Now even the cancer drugs, anti-neoplastic drugs, are first fitted, simulated in the computer. Then, even before the drug is manufactured, the equilibrium constant is also determined virtually in the computer by programming. They also see the three-dimensional fit into the area, targeted area where these molecules are going to be fitted. Will they fit? Then this design is going to given to the organic chemist who is asked to synthesize the same molecule of that particular design. Molecules are synthesized, molecules are analyzed spectrophotometrically using EV, visible, IR, and mass. Then it goes for clinical trial. So previously it was hit and run. Previously the process was just a reverse. That is, organic chemist synthesize, then it goes for clinical trial, and then if it fails, it comes again for the second one. So doing, redoing, undoing, and redoing, these are going to be done and making a huge cost of research and development. Now, before the material is synthesized, they are taking it out in a simulation, computer simulation, and finding this one. Those who are now the students of Government College of Engineering and Technology can go easily to your chemistry teacher. He did his PhD on this computer simulation. Same thing can be applied here. We need a research laboratory with a specific specialization in computational biology to design to see what is happening inside the collagen matrix. Then the multivariate statistical analysis, which handles a large number of variables and precisely chalk out, derive from them what are the principal components, what are the factors, which is most predominant, and leaving aside out of the others. Even 20 different variables you can work and they can find out three most important variables statistically. You focus on them. Don't focus on 30 different. That's how the things can be drawn. Things can be deciphered. The knowledge can be built in. Now here you can show that I have used the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation of biochemistry in 2012 to find out what is how much of the amino acids having carboxylate subgroup in the side chain, aspartic acid and glutamic acid, how much of them are actually ionized, that is able to form coordination with the chromium at the beginning of the tanning process and the end of the tanning process. So here it comes. At the beginning, if we assume that the pH is 2.5, the pH is 2.5, then aspartic acid, 40% of the aspartic acid is ionized, that is able to coordinate, which jumps at pH 3.8 to around 79. So there is an enhancement of 39%. Glutamic acid, on the other hand, at the beginning of the chrome tanning is about 3% only are ionized, whereas at the end, from 3% it jumps to 54%. So if we look at, then it looks quite impressive that at the aspartic acid, there is a gain on coordination ability about 39%, and for glutamic acid, at the end of chrome tanning, there is a gain of 51% of the glutamic acid, which are ionized and can form a coordination linkage. It looks quite impressive, but there are certain gray areas also. It may be other way around. How many glutamic and aspartic acid residues are there in type 3 alpha collagen left-handed helix? The entire amino acid sequence was published by Heidemann, where he has indicated that aspartic acid residues in 1009 amino acid residues of a alpha collagen, alpha helix, single-stranded collagen, alpha collagen, is 7 only out of 1009. And glutamic acid is 13 only out of 1009. So 50%, 70% of 7 is about 5. And 50% of glutamic acid is about 7. So 7 and 7, these 40 amino acids, if they are coordinated, they can bring such a huge amount of hydrothermal stability. That was my question. Whether are we on the right path or we are overemphasizing their role? Well, with the amino acid sequence of a single polypeptide chain of alpha helix, in 1988, we not only determined the theoretically calculated the recipe of liming and pickling, but we also theoretically predicted the beginning and the end pH of the process very accurately. And with the same argument, if we do for cross-linking calculations, then with the amount of aspartic acid and glutamic acid is available, and if we assume that 100% of them are involved in cross-linking, then technically 2 to 3% of basic chrome sulfate with 25% Cr2 content and Cr content and 33% basicity, 2 to 3% of BCS should theoretically tan the leather. Since this is not the case, therefore I still reserve my doubt. So that's the point. Now coming to the wet finishing operation. Wet finishing operation, the rule of thumb is the thinner the leather after shaving, higher is the spread. But it is not in the hand of the tanner very correctly, because the thickness of the leather is specified and dictated by the buyer. Therefore, you have to comply with. Uniformity in shaving operation is required within the range. So therefore, it is you have no control. But we can, of course, go to the step that we can fetch the order of low thickness and high thickness, a combo of low thickness production and a higher thickness production. lower thickness production to give you a higher spread, and higher thickness production to accommodate the low spread, so that the average spread per week remains at par within the target range. The product mix should be such that the average spread must be as par. And we must display the average spread per week or fortnightly or periodically, I would say, in the tannery, so that that hammers the mind of the people, minds of the floor manager and the supervisors that yes, we are in the, whether we are in a right track or not. It is something like a sticker on the car fixed like look, how am I driving? Similarly, how am I running the tannery? Excessive load of syntans will reduce the spread of leather. Yes, syntan uptake, it may require higher, but for that, you have to go back to the liming. You have to create the room for the liming operation. If we wish to use the syntan, higher amount of syntan, we must go for a prolonged liming of leather. And maybe by using some sodium tetrathionate or sodium carbonate in the liming can favor in opening up. If the leather has no appetite or hunger, how can we force them to eat more and more syntan? And rather, if we do that, they will rather vomit this excess down the drain. And it is not only the money that is going to be lost, but it is going to add the pollution load of my discharge, causing again money for treatment. Wet finishing operation. Fat liquoring is most crucial operation to influence spread of the leather. The increase of the spread in terms of hydrophilic head of the fat liquors depends on the following decreasing order. Sulfited fat liquor gives you a best amount of spread because it has a higher HLB value. Then comes sulfonated, then comes sulfated. The multi-layer insulation of the fat liquor chain not only increase the lubrication of the leather fiber, that means increasing the softness of the leather, but it also increases the spread because you can stretch it well, stretch it more. The fatty acid moiety, therefore, should be looked into. A straight chain hydrocarbon fatty acid favors multi-layer insulation much better than a branch chain fatty acid or a branch chain hydrocarbon group of the fatty acid moiety. Synthetic fat liquor, if it is made from Marshall, gives a beneficial in this regard because that is a saturated hydrocarbon. But sulfur-chlorinated synthetic fat liquor will have a tendency to undergo elimination reaction. And this is because the formation of chain chlorine in the sulfur chlorination cannot be reduced to zero. And this chain chlorine will have a tendency to undergo elimination reaction to produce hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid on prolonged exposure or prolonged the storage can make the collagen matrix little brittle and also can impair the fills of the leather. Some of the manufacturers sometimes use disodium hydrogen phosphate or sodium dihydrogen phosphate as a scavenger molecule to arrest those hydrochloric acid if it is produced. And besides that, this two product, that is disodium hydrogen phosphate or sodium dihydrogen phosphate, also acts as a buffer to control the pH of the finished leather. Fat liquors of intermediate stability is good for spread. We cannot use and do not use the fat liquor of infinite stability. What do we want? We want the fat liquor of oil in water kind of fat liquor will go inside the matrix, and then while going inside the matrix, they will open up and reverse their emulsion pattern as water in oil type. and that only can be possible if this fat liquors has a intermediate stability rather than a very high stability. This inversion of fat liquor in micelle from oil in water to water in oil is a kind you can imagine is like an umbrella in a rainstorm which goes inside out, a similar kind of thing. The oils with low iodine value makes a better spread because oil which has a higher iodine value has a larger number of multiple double bonds, and these double bonds can undergo on aging a polymerization reaction, making the sticky mass in between the fibers. So this is not only going to compromise the lubrication, but also it will make the fiber bundle less labile, it will make a hindrance for the sliding over of one fiber bundle to other fiber bundle because of their stickiness. Reversible setting machine plays a big role in the adjustment of the pressure increases the setting out machine, but the setting, in order to make the setting right, the leather must be conditioned properly in a samming machine so that the moisture content remains in a good position, preferable position for the setting only. Sometimes the hardness of the rubber roller is not looked into. Rubber roller, when exposed to air upon oxidation, has a tendency to be softer, and therefore this rubber roller needs to be hardened. We need 20 to 30 degree shore hardness on the rubber roller to have a good setting. And this, if immediately rubber roller replacement is not possible, then we can just paint it at the end weekend with the lime liquor, that is fresh lime liquor solution, not sodium sulfide, but just dissolve the lime in water, make a thick paste, and then paint the rubber roller in the weekend, leave it for a day or overnight, and then in the next day you wash it off and then can do. That will retain the hardness to a certain extent. Dry finishing operation. For the sprayed, it is important to have critical moisture content of the leather between 14 to 16%. And slow but gradual drying is therefore preferable. In order of decreasing spread of the drying operation can be placed as paste drying gives you maximum spread, but that you can do only for corrected grain leather. Because some amount of spread, some amount of paste is going to be coated on the grain side of the leather, which can only be removed after buffing. So therefore, it is good for corrected grain, not for full grain at all. It gives you a best kind of a spread. Then comes toggle drying. Then comes vacuum drying. Then comes drying in drying tunnel with a counter current a gradient of temperature and a reverse gradient of airflow. And then drying under the shade, it gives you least amount of spread. Dry finishing operation. Conditioning before staking is important. And it is not the area that has to be conditioned. But the conditioning, that is the retention of moisture in the entire cross section, has to be ensured. So it is conditioning and leaving them for overnight for proper absorption and distribution is necessary. As far as staking is concerned, slow comb staking machine gives a better spread than vibrational staking machine. But because of the advantages involved, it is advisable to go for slow comb first and then followed by vibrational staking machine. The leathers then need to be toggled because the area again due to staking operation should not be left out because of the elasticity of the leather. So in order to make that gain ready, we have to do the toggling better. We have not found any finishing operation 40 years back to contribute considerably the spread of the finished leather with the machineries and the equipments or the chemicals that were available in Bata Tannery in the year 1978 to 79 in Bata Tannery in Mokama. Even the Finiflex machine has no influence on spread. Now I have touched upon a terminology of atom economy. What do we mean by that? Why do we go for atom economy? Why we advocate for atom economy? It's just because we simply it pays back. There are a dozen of green mantras, which are like this: minimize waste, atom economy, least hazardous synthesis, safer chemicals, efficient reduction media, minimum energy, renewable resources, reduce derivable, catalyst for higher efficiency, cradle to grave approach, real-time monitoring and control, inherent safety. These are the dozen green mantras for atom economy, of which the areas with the marked as asterisks can be done very easily in the tannery. That is, minimize waste, inherent safety, renewable resources, minimum energy, minimize the energy, safer chemicals, etc. can be done very easily. What are the golden rules of atom economy? Design and use chemicals of lower toxicity. Look for the ecotoxicological profile of all auxiliaries. It's not only the BOD and COD, but also ask for what is the LC50 value, what is the LD50 value of your product, and then use this one having product having a lower toxicity. Replace the higher toxic chemicals by the lower toxic chemicals. Minimize the use of auxiliary substance that do not form a part of the leather. The chemicals which goes in and comes in and goes out of the leather, what is the point in using them? Avoid unnecessary loading. Unnecessary loading is not required. Unnecessary loading not only reduces the spread, but it also compromises with the physical properties of the leather. Try to minimize energy consumption wherever is possible. Lot of energies are wasted. Fans are running, drums are running without material, and lot of things are going to happen, and that can be reduced definitely. I just give you one equation. We say that 1 kilowatt hour of electrical energy in our country means 500 grams, 500 kgs of coal is gone from the earth, and 500 kg of greenhouse gases is produced in the environment. So you can understand. Minimize the water consumption, because water do cost, and most importantly, it depletes the water. Look for the byproduct utilization. As I have said, 39% of the hide moth is used as leather, and 46% of the precious biomass is wasted, and today's wastage can be tomorrow's hidden treasure trove. Choose chemicals to provide maximum selectivity of function. Products to be discarded immediately should break down rapidly into benign component. Design flawless mechanism for in-plant process control in real time. Operate with lesser number of chemicals. This will not only reduce the cost of inventory of chemicals, and the inventory cost, if it becomes higher, it drives up the capital liquidity. Re-engineer the rejected leather. Re-engineering of the rejected leather should be continuously innovated. This will reduce the financial burden of the tannery also. Optimize, and further optimize. Optimization up to N is the main mantra of survival. maintain record at each stage in plant process control, and care for temperature or pressure fluctuation or fire hazards in spray booth or maybe the buffing duct. Most of the tanneries has a fire problem from this area. Involve and educate shop floor people. The accidents are never happened. Accidents are caused. And there are only two reasons for accidents to take place. Either unduly saving time or unduly saving effort. Beyond this, there is no other conditions. Either the person wanted to save time unduly, or the person concerned or the victim wanted to save the effort unduly. So that needs to be educated. It's not the question of compensation that has to be given, but it is the question of life of the person or the life of the family members of the person who is going to be jeopardized if there is an accident that takes place. Use a maximum number of computers and microprocessors for developing either your ERP system, developing of your costing system, developing your quality control system. Use whatever is possible. Today it is not impossible even for a finishing or for a manufacturing process like leather manufacturing. And thank you so much for your kind attention for such a long deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay. It was really a very informative presentation. And now we move over to the question answer session. And let's see, means any questions in the chat or not. I think from Priyanka there is a question, and then from Shailendra Singh in the chat box. So first I will ask Priyanka and then Shailendra. I am unmuting everyone, but I request that do not unmute yourself unless you are asking a question. Priyanka, you can unmute and ask the question. Priyanka? Hello?
I think Priyanka is not there. Go to the next person.
Next is Shailendra Singh Yadav.
Or they are not unmuted.
Shailendra, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, Shailendra, you can ask.
Yes. Sir, myself, Shailendra Singh Yadav. I am presently working in Liberty Shoes Limited as a quality head. My question is, if we make any product in goat milled white leather or white cow softy leather, but after some time, 1 month or 2 months, our packed product yellowness comes. So what precautions we take in leather, then yellowness not comes in our product. We purchase leather from Chennai. So please update me regarding for improvement.
Hello, Dr. Chattopadhyay. Hello.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Shailendra.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, you are probably asking a question which is not in the scope of today's discussion. Today's discussion was focused only on the spread of leather. But somehow your question is an interesting one, and this is going to this is related to the yellowness of the white leather
Yes, sir.
upon aging.
Yes, sir.
The yellowness of white leather is not a phenomenon that is happening now. It's a long driven process, and particularly it appears if you have titanium in the leather making. They must be using the rutile type of titanium, rutile form of titanium oxides in the leather making. And this goes oxidation and reduction process,
Yes.
and the yellowness appears. That is a common. Even if you think the white ball pens of Raymond and others, Renault and others, you will see that it is also coming as a white, as a yellow. So the one of the reason for this removal is to add a little bit of blue, little bit of very low bit of blue, because if you look at the color theory, you will see that the yellow and blue are in two opposite sides of white. So adding little blue with the yellow makes the yellow, brings the yellow towards the white end. So you just inquire from your supplier that number one, whether they are using rutile kind of titanium dioxides, and if they are using rutile titanium dioxides, then whether you can suggest them to use some amount of blue. You know that even without not knowing this fact, but your mother, your grandmother used to have blue dyes in a white shirt. You know, after washing the white shirt, they used to put some blue. That's the reason why. So we apply that one. Ask them to add a little blue, small amount of blue.
almost like toggling. So increase of this thing, leather, it can get from vibrating staking machine. Nowadays you can see this thing in like Catigliano's machine or even the South Korean's Corona machine. You'll get more spreading. And other thing is this: what you have said about the beam house, I accept it 100%. I accept it because I am doing this thing. The soaking enzyme and this enzyme in liming, and to avoid this thing, sodium sulfide before adding the enzyme.
Yes.
One should not use
Yes.
sodium sulfide.
Yes.
This is very much required. And another thing I am telling you, during soaking enzyme, when we are adding soaking enzyme, before that we have to increase the pH 9 plus.
Yes.
And that sometimes we do it soda ash, and
Yes.
sometimes we are doing with magnesium oxide also.
Yes.
It also gives 9 plus, and soaking enzyme gives another benefit. We can gain mass.
Yeah, that is right. That is right. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yes,
Tapas, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Now,
Continue.
I tell you, Buddha,
Yes.
theoretically, I am very much poor. This is from my 50 years experience. I'm telling you what I have done in my life. This is the thing. And another thing for this open up, my question to you: what is the role of amine and mercaptan in liming for anti-wrinkle, and what happens if we use amine or mercaptan as anti-wrinkle agent in liming?
Well, Taposa, let me thank you for adding values in the sense that I told you already that it was a work done 41 years ago. And at that time when I worked there, we have a vibratory machines like Molisa. We didn't have the knife type of,
Yeah, that is
band knife type of vibratory machines. So, but you have correctly mentioned that they can increase this one. And slow comb machine, as far as spread or loss of leather is concerned, whatever you are mentioning. But when I worked in water tanneries in 40 years back, we didn't have much of loss of in the slow comb machines. It is only the tearing that happens. But somehow or other, I don't want to debate here. But I didn't find at that time the slow comb is taking off leather. This is number two. Number three, about the questions, that's very crucial. You have asked about Markupton and amine. Markupton and amines were used as a known depilatory agents for a long time, but they are naturally very costly as compared to sodium sulfite and others. But I'm not so sure what they are claiming. If they are claiming to be removing the wrinkles and others by Markupton or diamine or amines, I'm not very sure of it.
No,
Because, I don't find any reason why they should.
So I want to know the chemical, theoretical part of this thing. It breaks the sulfur bond.
Yes, it breaks the sulfur bonds. It breaks the sulfur bond, but is the sulfur bond responsible for the wrinkles of the grains of the leather? That is my question. That I do not think. So this claim is not sustainable. See, Markupton is used as in biochemistry also for breaking the disulfur linkage. But they are good at that, and no doubt of it. But at the same time, when you make a pelt, at that time, at the Mycorium minor, do we have a keratin? That's the point. If there is no keratin, then where is coming a disulfide bond, which this one diamine or Markupton is going to break? Markupton and diamine can break the disulfide bond, and that they do it, and that is why they are good depilant.
But you say it hasn't got any role.
No, I don't say, but I don't find any theoretical reasons how and why they could be used as a wrinkle remover. I don't find any reasons for that.
Rather, if we use enzyme, that will be a better result than this one.
Could be. Yes, could be.
Okay. Thank you, Vidya.
Thank you, sir.
Don't think there is any other further questions. Then we'll move to the, I would request Mr. Ratan Chaudhary to offer the vote of thanks.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to express my thanks to Professor Buddhadev Chatterjee for his wonderful and educational speech to sharing to us. And it will be very immense educational value to the students and just pass out the students who are in the field of the leather industry. Besides, I must thank to the President of ILTA, Vice President, and also the Dr. Siram and others executive committee member, and also the members who attended the today meeting. And besides other things, I am very much excited that a lot of industry people, they have joined to listen your talk, keeping aside their Saturday weekend evening. And even from the Bombay, I see that Mr. Sunil Kadam, the vertical manager of Indofield, and Sudhir from Bombay, he joined to this seminar. And it is very interesting. If you people are always encouraging us like this way, and we can do a lot of exciting seminar webinar, and that will be educational and sharing of our thoughts and sharing our knowledge and updating ourselves. With this, I'd like to conclude my talk. Good night, and all of them have a good weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.